So there's this really cool topic in marketing. Actually, it's part of branding that I don't think it's discussed enough. And it's really interesting when you come to think about it. It's called ingredient branding. And this is not to be confused with co-branding, by the way. I might do a separate video at some point on co-branding. But ingredient branding, I like to say, is somewhat like co-branding's cousin. So with ingredient branding, it's a component, and I'm just using the word component generically right now, that goes inside a product, and that component is important because it actually affects the buying decision process. And that component has a lot to do with the product's overall value proposition. It's something that at this point, customers do seek out, hence why it's actually branded. So the most iconic and classic example of this is Intel Inside. And you see this badged on Windows PC computers all the time. This has been going on for maybe 20 years or more now. And this is really kind of like the go-to example. So computers, as you know, are not these unusual or extravagant things anymore. It's hard to find people that don't need a computer these days. And because we as consumers know so much about computers, one of the things that we do know is that the processor matters. So if you're looking for a new computer and you can afford it, and you see the Intel Inside, well, that's something that some customers go out and actually seek. And for a couple more lighthearted examples, even when you, for example, buy Pillsbury chocolate chip cookie dough. So a lot of brands for chocolate chip cookie dough come with morsels, but when you buy Pillsbury's, it comes with Hershey's morsels. So this is another example of ingredient branding. The morsels, of course, being Hershey's. Everyone essentially knows the Hershey brand. This is something that you might do in terms of choosing Pillsbury over a competitor brand because it's got Hershey morsels. Same thing with cake mix, sugar-free cake mix, actually. So if you're doing sugar-free cake mix, so Pillsbury also has Splenda and it's branded. This is also a component inside, and people who use sugar-free products, some people who prefer Splenda, who like Splenda and trust it because it is a brand, of course, will go and seek that. For a long time, Mercedes-Benz did this, and I'm not sure if they do this anymore, by the way. They may have stopped it recently. But for a long time, when you open the hood of a Mercedes-Benz, it said Mercedes-Benz recommends Mobil 1 motor oil. It doesn't mean, of course, that other motor oils won't work. They'll work perfectly fine. But this is, just Mercedes-Benz recommending Mobil 1. And Volkswagen, by the way, and Audi as well, they do the same thing. They actually put recommends on the cap, and they put Castrol as their brand of recommended oil. Now, the last thing that I wanted to say is this is a form of advertising. It's nuanced advertising, but it's not really advertising in that categorical sense. It really is ingredient branding, and that's the proper term for this. But it is nuanced advertising, of course, with the Intel Inside. PC makers that put the Intel Inside badging, they actually receive compensation, financial compensation from Intel. And a lot of PC makers, and for those who've had me, they know that, I've talked about how Windows PC makers really can't differentiate themselves all that much. So this has been sort of an important lifeline that they've depended on for a long time, this financial compensation from Intel. So this is definitely nuanced advertising, but it's also a pretty cool concept in marketing. So now you know ingredient branding, what it is, how to look for it, and what it's supposed to mean. So send me your comments and questions, and each week you'll get a chance to win a copy of one of my books, your choice, either my book on presentation skills or business writing skills.